So there I was, sitting at my parents' dinner table last Tuesday, finally ready to share the news I'd been holding in for weeks. My name's Andrea, by the way, and I'm 29 years old. I work as a project manager at a mid-sized tech company, been there for about 6 years now. It's not glamorous, but it pays decent and I've been grinding away, saving every penny I could. My parents were passing around the mashed potatoes when I decided to just go for it. My younger sister Kayla was there too. She's 26 and honestly, we've never been super close. She was glued to her phone as usual, probably scrolling through Instagram or texting her fiancé Marcus. Mom, Dad, I started, setting down my fork. I wanted to tell you guys something important. Dad looked up from his plate. He's this quiet guy who works construction, been doing it for 30 years. Mom teaches 3rd grade at the elementary school down the street. They're good people, don't get me wrong, but growing up, it always felt like Kayla got the better end of everything. "What's up, sweetheart?" Mom asked, giving me that smile she does when she's trying to show interest. "I'm buying an apartment," I said, trying to keep the excitement out of my voice. "I've been saving for almost 8 years now, and I finally found the perfect place." Dad raised his eyebrows. "That's great, Andrea, where is it?" "It's this cute 2-bedroom place about 15 minutes from downtown. The owner, Mrs. Chen, she's this sweet older lady who's moving to Florida to be closer to her grandkids. We've already talked about the price and everything." I took a breath before dropping the real news. "The thing is, the total cost is $200,000. I've managed to save up $180,000, but I still need another $20,000 to make it happen." Mom set down her water glass. "20,000? That's a lot of money, honey." "I know, but here's the good part, Mrs. Chen doesn't need to sell right away. She said she's willing to wait up to 6 months for me to come up with the rest. So I was thinking I could pick up some extra freelance work, maybe cut back on expenses even more." I glanced over at Kayla, expecting some kind of reaction, but she was still staring at her phone screen, thumb scrolling away. She's been living with Mom and Dad on and off for the past year while she plans her wedding to Marcus. They rent this tiny studio apartment together, but she comes home for dinner at least 3 times a week. "Kayla's been so busy with wedding planning," Mom said, noticing where I was looking. "The ceremony's in 4 months, you know. She's got so much on her plate right now." I nodded, understanding. Planning a wedding is stressful, I get that. Marcus seems like a nice enough guy. He works at some marketing firm downtown, though from what I can tell, he's not exactly swimming in money either. "Speaking of the wedding," I continued, "once I get the apartment, maybe I could host some kind of celebration there. A housewarming party or something." "That sounds lovely," Mom said, "we'd love to help you celebrate." Dad was about to say something when Mom suddenly put her fork down with a little clatter. She had this look on her face, like she'd just had some brilliant idea. "You know what, Andrea," she said, leaning forward. "You don't have to wait 6 months. Your father and I have been talking lately about wanting to help you kids out more, and we think we can give you that $20,000 right now. Consider it an early housewarming gift. We'll throw you the most amazing party to celebrate." I sat there staring at them, completely stunned. In all my 29 years, they'd never offered me anything like this. When I needed money for college textbooks, I had to work extra shifts at the grocery store. When my car broke down 2 years ago, I took out a loan. But here they were, offering me 20 grand like it was nothing. "Are you serious?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Dead serious," Mom said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "We want to do this for you. You've worked so hard, and you deserve to have your own place." For a split second, I wondered if this was some kind of test or joke, but they both looked completely sincere. Maybe they finally realized how differently they'd treated Kayla and me growing up. Maybe this was their way of trying to make up for all those years of feeling like the second-choice daughter. "I don't know what to say," I managed. "Thank you, this is incredible." Even Kayla looked up from her phone for about 2 seconds, but then went right back to whatever was so fascinating on her screen. The rest of dinner was a blur of excited planning and me trying to process what had just happened. $20,000. Just like that. No strings attached, no guilt trips, no conditions. We should start planning the housewarming party right away, Mom said, her eyes lighting up. I'm thinking we could invite all the relatives, maybe some of your work friends too. Mom, you don't have to go through all that trouble, I protested, but she was already in full planning mode. Nonsense, this is a huge milestone. We need to celebrate properly. I can make those little sandwiches you like, and maybe we can get a cake from that bakery downtown. Dad smiled at Mom's enthusiasm. Your mother loves any excuse to throw a party. But seriously, Andrea, we're really proud of you. It takes discipline to save that much money. I felt this weird mix of gratitude and confusion. After years of watching Kayla get everything handed to her, suddenly I was the golden child. It was like I'd stepped into some alternate universe where my parents actually noticed my hard work. So when do you want to move forward with Mrs. Chen? Dad asked. Well, if you're really sure about this, I said, still hardly believing it, I could call her tomorrow. She said she'd hold the place for me, but if we can close sooner, I know she'd be happy about that too. Absolutely, we're sure, Mom said firmly. I'll transfer the money to your account first thing in the morning. Even Kayla looked up at that point, though she didn't say anything. Just gave this little nod and went back to her phone. I wondered what she was thinking about all this, but knowing my sister, she was probably more focused on her wedding dress fitting next week than my apartment news. As we cleared the dishes, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. This kind of generosity just wasn't like my parents, at least not toward me. But maybe people change. Maybe they really had realized how unequal things had been growing up. Or maybe they were just in a good mood because Kayla's wedding was going well and they wanted to spread the happiness around. Either way, I wasn't going to question it too hard. I was about to become a homeowner, and for the first time in years, I felt like maybe I really was part of this family after all. True to her word, Mom transferred the money the very next morning. I called Mrs. Chen immediately and we scheduled the closing for 2 weeks later. The whole process went smoothly, and within a month I was officially a homeowner. Moving into my new apartment felt surreal. After 8 years of saving and living in that cramped studio, I finally had space to breathe. I bought some furniture, hung pictures on the walls, and started settling in. Every day felt like a small victory. Mom had been incredibly excited about planning my housewarming party. She insisted on handling all the details, the food, decorations, guest list. I had to admit, it felt good to have her so invested in celebrating my achievement. We planned it for 3 weeks after I moved in, which gave me time to get everything set up properly. I invited all the relatives, she told me during one of our planning calls. Your Aunt Sarah, Uncle Mike, the cousins. Even some of your work friends that I know from when you brought them to Christmas dinner. Thanks, Mom, I really appreciate all your help with this. Of course, honey, this is such a big milestone. We want to celebrate it properly. The week before the party, I was putting finishing touches on the apartment when my phone rang. It was Mom, and her voice sounded different, urgent, almost panicked. Andrea, you need to come over to the house right now. It's important. Your father and I need to talk to you about something. My stomach dropped. Had something happened to one of them? Was someone sick? I grabbed my keys and drove over immediately. When I walked into their living room, both Mom and Dad were sitting on the couch looking serious. Kayla was there too, which surprised me since she usually only came for dinners. Sit down, Andrea, Mom said. What's going on? You're scaring me. Dad cleared his throat. We've been thinking about your apartment situation, and we've decided that you need to give it to Kayla. I stared at him, sure I'd misheard. What? You have a good job and a stable salary, Mom continued. You're young, you'll have plenty of time to earn money for another apartment. But Kayla is getting married in a few months, and this is really important for her. She needs our help, and that apartment would be the perfect wedding gift. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Are you serious right now? Dead serious, Kayla said from her spot in the armchair. Mom and Dad are right. I need this more than you do. You need it more than I do, my voice was getting louder. I've been saving for 8 years for this place. And since the party is already planned, Kayla continued like I hadn't spoken, Marcus and I can just invite our friends instead and use it to celebrate our engagement. So all your work won't go to waste. I stood up so fast I knocked over the coffee table. Are you all completely insane? I'm not giving anyone my apartment. Andrea, calm down, Dad said, we're trying to be reasonable here. Reasonable? I was practically shouting now. I saved $180,000 for that place. I worked 2 jobs for years, gave up vacations, worked overtime constantly. I denied myself everything to make this happen. While you were doing all that, I continued, pointing at Kayla, she was jumping from job to job, what is it now, 10 different places in 5 years. She's never saved a dime, never sacrificed anything, and somehow she deserves my apartment? That's not fair, Kayla protested. Not fair? You want to steal my apartment and my housewarming party, and I'm being unfair? It's not stealing, Mom said firmly. We contributed to that apartment too. $20,000 gives us a say in who lives there. 20,000 out of 200,000, I shot back. That's 10%. I put in 90% of the money. If you don't do this, Dad said quietly, we're done. No more family dinners, no more holidays, no more phone calls. You choose, your sister or us. Mom nodded, we helped pay for that apartment, so we have the right to decide what happens to it. And we've decided Kayla needs it more. I looked around the room at all of them, my parents sitting there like they'd just suggested something completely normal, and Kayla smirking like she'd already won. These people who were supposed to love me, support me, celebrate my achievements, were trying to steal everything I'd worked for. You know what, I said, grabbing my purse. You're all crazy if you think I'm giving up what I earned through 8 years of hard work. I headed for the door, but turned back one more time. I should have known this was too good to be true. You don't give gifts without strings attached. You never have. And with that, I walked out of the house, slamming the door behind me. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get my car keys in the ignition. 8 years of saving, of sacrifice, of working myself to exhaustion, and they wanted me to just hand it over to my spoiled sister like it was nothing. Not happening. Not ever. The next few days were hell, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. First it was Mom and Dad, calling from different numbers when I blocked their main ones. Then it was Kayla, sending me long text messages about how I was being selfish and ruining her life. I ignored every single one of them. But then the relatives started calling. Andrea, honey, it's Aunt Sarah. I heard about the situation with your apartment. Don't you think you should help your little sister out? She's getting married, for crying out loud. I hung up on her. Next was my cousin Jenny. Andrea, I can't believe you're being so greedy. Kayla needs that place more than you do. You're single, you don't have kids. She's starting a family. I blocked her number too. Then came Grandma Rose, and that one hurt. Andrea, sweetie, your mother told me what's happening. I raised you girls to look out for each other. This isn't like you. Grandma, you don't understand the whole story, I tried to explain. I understand that your sister needs help and you have the means to provide it. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family. Even my grandmother was against me, I felt completely alone. The worst part was when I found out what Mom had done on social media. My coworker Jessica showed me the post during lunch break at work. Andrea, you need to see this, she said, sliding her phone across the table. There it was, on Mom's Facebook page, a poll asking her friends which of her daughters deserved to have their own home more. She'd written this long post about how I had a stable high-paying job and was single with no responsibilities, while Kayla was struggling financially and about to start a family. She made it sound like I was some rich person hoarding wealth while my poor sister suffered. The comments were brutal. People I'd known my whole life were saying I should give Kayla the apartment. Mrs. Henderson from down the street wrote, "The older sister should help the younger one." My old high school teacher commented, "Andrea always was selfish." I couldn't believe what I was reading. Mom had basically put me on trial in front of the entire neighborhood, and the jury had already decided I was guilty. "This is insane," Jessica said, reading over my shoulder. "She's making you look like some heartless monster." "I know," I whispered, feeling sick to my stomach. That night, I got an email from Mom that made everything even worse. The subject line read, "Final notice. Andrea, if you don't voluntarily transfer the apartment deed to your sister within 72 hours, your father and I will be forced to take legal action. We contributed 10% of the purchase price, which gives us legal standing. We don't want to involve lawyers, but you're leaving us no choice." I stared at that email for a long time. They were actually threatening to sue me. My own parents were going to take me to court over an apartment I'd worked 8 years to buy. The next day, I saw Kayla had posted something on Instagram that made my blood boil. It was a picture of her and Marcus looking at paint samples with the caption, "Can't wait to announce our big surprise. Housing problems solved." Then she posted another one, planning the perfect housewarming party for next weekend. She was talking about my housewarming party. The one I'd already planned, already invited people to, already ordered food for. She was acting like my apartment was already hers. That's when I knew I needed help. I couldn't handle this alone anymore. I took a half day off work and went to see a lawyer. His name was David Martinez, and Jessica had recommended him. His office was downtown, and I felt nervous walking in there. "Tell me what's happening," he said after I'd explained the situation. I laid it all out, the 8 years of saving, my parents' gift, the demand that I give everything to Kayla, the threats of legal action. "Do they have any legal standing?" I asked. "Can they actually sue me?" Mr. Martinez leaned back in his chair. "Well, let's look at the facts. You saved $180,000 of your own money. Your parents gave you $20,000 as what they explicitly called a gift. Is there any written agreement about this money?" "No, nothing, they said it was a housewarming gift." "And the deed to the apartment is in your name only?" "Yes, just mine." He nodded. "Then no, they have virtually no legal standing here. A gift is a gift. They can't retroactively claim it was a loan or that it came with conditions they never mentioned." I felt a huge wave of relief wash over me. "However," he continued, "if you want to avoid any potential legal headaches, even frivolous ones, I'd recommend paying them back the $20,000. That way they have zero claim to anything." "You really think I should?" "It eliminates any possible argument they might try to make." "Can you get a loan for that amount?" I thought about it. 20,000 was a lot, but I had good credit and a steady job. "Yeah, I think so." "Then I'd do it, pay them back, keep records of everything, and this whole thing goes away legally." That afternoon, I went to my bank and applied for a personal loan. It was approved within 2 hours. I transferred the exact amount, $20,000, to my parents' account with a note that read "repayment of debt." Then I called Mom. "I paid you back," I said simply, "the $20,000. I just transferred it back to your account. So now you have zero claim to my apartment." There was silence on the other end. "Andrea, we don't want the money back. We want you to do the right thing for your sister." "Well, you've got it back anyway. From this moment on, we're done. Don't come to my housewarming party. Don't call me. Don't contact me at all. You can't be serious, Andrea, we're your family." "No," I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. "Family doesn't try to steal from each other. Family doesn't threaten lawsuits. Family doesn't turn the whole neighborhood against you on social media." And I hung up. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe again. The day of my housewarming party finally arrived. I'd spent the morning setting everything up, trying to push thoughts of my family drama out of my head. My friends from work were coming, some neighbors, a few college buddies. It wasn't going to be the big family celebration Mom had originally planned, but it would be mine. Everything was going perfectly. People were mingling, complimenting the apartment, telling me how proud they were. For the first time in weeks, I felt genuinely happy. Then, around 8 o'clock, there was a loud banging on my door. I opened it to find Kayla standing there, and she was clearly drunk. Her makeup was smeared, her hair was a mess, and she could barely stand straight. "This should be my party," she screamed, loud enough for everyone in the apartment to hear. "This is my apartment. Kayla, you need to leave, now." "No," she pushed past me into the living room where all my guests were staring. "You stole this from me. Mom and Dad promised me this place. You're drunk, get out of my home." But Kayla wasn't listening. She grabbed a plate of appetizers from the coffee table and hurled it at the wall. "This isn't fair, I deserve this more than you do." My friend Jessica tried to approach her. "Hey, maybe you should sit down and we can talk about this." "Don't touch me," Kayla shrieked, grabbing a handful of cake and throwing it at Jessica. "You don't understand. She's stealing my wedding gift." The whole room went silent. My guests were backing away, some of them pulling out their phones to record what was happening. "Kayla, stop this right now," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I won't stop, this apartment belongs to me. Mom and Dad said so." She was crying now, mascara running down her face as she continued throwing food and drinks around my living room. One of my coworkers, Mike, stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to calm down or we're going to have to call the police." That's when Kayla completely lost it. She lunged at Mike, scratching his face with her nails and actually biting his hand when he tried to defend himself. "She's going to take this away from me anyway," Kayla sobbed. "It's not fair, I'm getting married, I need this more." Multiple people were filming now. I could see phones pointed at Kayla as she continued her meltdown, throwing decorations and screaming about how unfair everything was. "You've always had everything easy," she yelled at me. "Good grades, good job, good salary. What about me, what about what I need?" "What you need," I said firmly, "is to work for things instead of expecting them to be handed to you. You need to save money instead of spending every dime. That's not fair." "Fair, you want to talk about fair? I worked 2 jobs for years while you were partying. I lived in a studio eating ramen while you went shopping. I saved every penny for 8 years while you couldn't save enough for a security deposit." By now, my neighbors in the hallway were watching the spectacle. It took 10 minutes, but we finally managed to get Kayla out. She was still screaming threats as she stumbled down the hallway. The party was over after that. Most guests left, though a few friends stayed to help clean up. "Are you okay?" Jessica asked, helping me sweep up broken glass. "I think so, this is just insane." "Well, at least half the people here got it on video. If she tries to claim you're the crazy one, you've got proof." 2 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, it was Mom. "Andrea, we need to talk." I thought I made it clear we were done talking. "Please, just listen, we need you to let Kayla and Marcus stay with you temporarily. Just until they get back on their feet." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now? They're getting married next week, and they don't have anywhere stable to live. You have a 2-bedroom apartment." "Mom, the answer is no, absolutely not." "Andrea, please, we're family." "Family? You mean like when you tried to steal my apartment? Like when you turned the neighborhood against me? Like when Kayla destroyed my party?" She was just upset. "You have to understand her position." "I understand it perfectly, she wanted something she didn't work for, and when she couldn't have it, she threw a tantrum. If you don't help her," Mom said, her voice getting harder, "then we'll never speak to you again. You'll lose your whole family over this." "You know what, Mom?" I said, feeling a surge of anger. "If you and Kayla don't leave me alone, I'm going to send Marcus's parents the video from my party. You know how conservative they are. They won't want their son marrying someone who acts like that." There was silence on the other end. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've got the video of your daughter having a meltdown at my party. She attacked my guests, destroyed my property, and made herself look like a psychopath. You think his parents will still want her as a daughter-in-law? Andrea, you wouldn't dare. Try me, leave me alone, or I send them everything. But I'd already hung up. I found Marcus's parents on Facebook and sent them the clearest video of Kayla's breakdown, with a simple message: thought you might want to see this before the wedding. An hour later, I got a text from Kayla: I hate you. That was the last time any of them contacted me. The wedding did happen, but from what I heard through relatives, it was smaller than originally planned. Marcus's parents insisted on a quiet ceremony, and they made it clear that Kayla and Marcus would be living with my parents after the wedding. 6 months later, I got my first bonus at work and used it to pay off the loan early. I've been living peacefully in my apartment ever since. Sometimes people ask me about my family, about whether I miss them or feel guilty about what happened. The truth is, I sleep just fine at night. I worked hard for what I have, and I'm not about to apologize for keeping it. Maybe some people think that makes me selfish, but I prefer to think it makes me smart. After all, if you don't value your own hard work, who will?